right back in to our Thursday night show that everybody knows I love so much. And no, I'm not giving you directions on how to do this or how to not do this. But it's Shonda Rhimes' How to Get Away with Murder. How to Get Away with Murder is, it's playing with our mind strings, our heart strings. It's just playing everything. But this week, it's about one guy and one guy only. Asher. Yes. Yes. My intellect is there. My foreseeing of everything is right there. Now, I'm not going to say that he did it. And we're talking about I'm talking about the opening cutscene and the ending cutscenes where they're going 4 weeks into the future. I think they're down to 3 weeks now. So we're now 3 weeks into the future, and where this week we discovered where was Asher, because the whole time I was asking, where's Asher? Where's Asher? And we're seeing the storyline of him having some issues with the prosecutor. Now, in the first season, Asher was not around for the actual murder of Annalise Keating's husband, Sam Keating, which is fine. It's absolutely okay. But in the cutscenes, relatively early too, in the cutscenes, you did see Asher, and you saw that Asher was just left out of it. So you're like, all right, Asher's not there, but we see what he's doing. In this season, however, for 4 episodes, maybe even 5, but for the first 4 episodes, these beginning and end cutscenes where they're going into the future and you see what has happened to Annalise, Asher has been missing until this past week's episode. And I gotta say, I was nearly thoroughly satisfied with what was going on. Now, it did tie into the episode. The episode was, the episode's title had Bonnie's name in it. So it was, This is Bonnie. So we got to see kind of what might have been a backstory, but everything was based around the fact that Asher, who's feeling a little left out of the group, feeling a little left out of the Keating Five, and he's not feeling the love from Bonnie, but he finds out why. And now he's got this huge weight on his shoulders. Now, there's also something else that his father, who's a judge, is helping him try to get done. And it has to do with this blonde girl on his phone, which Bonnie thought he was cheating with on Bonnie. He was cheating on Bonnie with this girl. That's what Bonnie was thinking. But Bonnie's got some trust issues. We'll deal with that in a second. But for right now, Bonnie had to explain everything that was going on. And what she explained to him was, and I'm going to say it, and I'll throw it up there, spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Bonnie admitted to killing Annalise's husband. Yeah, killing Annalise's husband. But she said it was self-defense. So now Asher's thinking, why are you not, why didn't you go to the police? Like, why is this, what's with all this, like, sneaking around and all that kind of stuff? Well, it gets very weird. And now you've got Asher sniffing in all the wrong places. But now you have Wes. He's also sniffing around because this guy, Levi, who was Rebecca, we all remember Rebecca, right? Rebecca had a foster brother who's this guy, Levi. Now, Levi is sleeping with Michaela, not Jacqueline, Michaela, is sleeping with Michaela, but is also figuratively sleeping with Wes and trying to figure out who killed Rebecca. Now, we all figured out who actually killed Rebecca. We saw that in like the second episode or the first episode of the season. So we as the viewers are completely satisfied with that. We know who killed her. We know what's going on. In fact, it is actually helping build in this episode because it was Bonnie. I'm going to throw up the safe sign. It's safe to come back. It's safe to come back, folks. But the Wes does not know this. Now, Wes thinks it's Frank, and Frank is a shady guy. I mean, I would love to have Frank as a friend or an acquaintance. I would never want to be on his bad side, but Frank seems like a pretty cool dude to have in a tough situation. Am I right? I'm just saying. But anyway, so Frank sends them on this elaborate wild goose chase. And this whole time, Laurel and Connor are just soaking it in. They're believing Wes. They're following him at his every whim. They're making sure that they don't go to jail. Because now they're pretty convinced that they're going to jail. Laurel does whatever she needs to do to stay out of it, to try to help out, even if that is sleeping with Frank. She slept with Frank. She did him hard. But anyway, so she slept with Frank, and now they're trying to get information out of him. And Levi's helping out. Levi was able to get a name of a guy who works in a cemetery. So they threaten him. Kind of not the way that Wes wanted to threaten him, but they got there. They did it. They're not proud of it, but they figured out something. And upon figuring out something, Frank has to be Frank. Frank has to be Frank. And I'm not saying be Frank and telling like, oh God, that was awful. Frank has to be himself. And he's got to think ahead of him. Now, this whole time, Annalise Keating is thinking that she has just lost control of everything. She's got Wes convincing the other four that Annalise is not going to help them out anymore. Connor is just drinking and he just doesn't believe in Annalise anymore. Wes is sniffing in the wrong places. He now has this alliance with Nate, and Annalise can't help it. And she doesn't think Bonnie is strong enough to take care of what's going on with Asher, because Asher's just straight up missing. And she doesn't think that Frank covered up his tracks well enough. So now she thinks she's losing her grip on these what once were scared interns, scared students. But now they've kind of grown up a bit, and they've kind of started getting back at her. And they've kind of just, they're smarter. It's another year, and they got smarter. But Annalise has got a plan. She's always got a plan. She's always got something in her back pocket that will just get them back on the thing. Now, to go back to the actual case at hand, we find out that the prosecution for the Halpert case, which is Caleb and Catherine killing, torturing their parents, they had found, the prosecution had handed in a motion to allow something into court, but allowed it at a deadline. So it didn't really give enough time for Annalise to review it upon being given to the judge. And it was done on purpose. Lawyers are skeevy. We all know this. They're just as bad, if not worse, than politicians. But Annalise, she does her usual illegal type stuff, and she obtains the audio from what appeared to be an unfinished retelling or unfinished clip from a dashboard cam on one of the cops the morning after the Halbert's parents were discovered dead. And the video that was shown in court, yes, it does show that Caleb and Catherine's aunt was a racist of sorts. She did not like that her brother and sister, that the Caleb and Catherine's parents had adopted an Asian girl and a black man or a black boy, and she was saying these racist rants, which in a court does not seem like a very hard evidence as to this is why they didn't do it. However, they feel, Annalise Keating and her team feel as though the video was tampered with in some way. So upon doing a little search, illegally, they discovered that there is more footage. The camera was turned off, the video was deleted, but the audio was still there. So they brought this into court, and the judge, although knowing that this was crucial evidence to help Annalise with this case, throws it all out. And I gotta say that was a poor move on her part, but I guess this judge is a no BS judge. So the judge is just going to allow this really, really, really bad motion into in, and thus screwing over Annalise Keating so bad. But Annalise will come up with something. She always does. She always does. But going back to the Keating Five and what's going on with Asher. Anyway. We won't go. Well, the Keating 4 now because of those who were involved with Sam's murder and stuff like that. And Asher is still being left out of everything because he's dealing with this thing with his dad. And now what he's trying to do is he's helping out the prosecutor of this Halpert case. And now what he's trying to do is he's trying to set up something where he wore a wire, and he was kind of like being shady with the rest of the Keating 4, and he wants full immunity. He wants to make sure that wherever they get their evidence from, that the prosecutor can not point her finger at Asher. But upon finding out about all this, and then finding out about who killed Sam Keating, when he found out that Bonnie killed Sam Keating, he wanted to turn her in too. So Asher's really like... I don't know if he's looking out for himself or if he's just looking out for Bonnie, or if he wants to do the right thing. Because, if he wants to help himself out, he would just keep his mind shut and, keep his mouth shut, and he would just realize that Annalise Keating will never do something to completely harm them. She's been trying to help them out as best as she can, even though they all killed her husband. She's been helping out the other 4, but for some reason, Asher does not feel as if Annalise will keep him safe, and he thinks that what he's working in is a toxic environment. And yeah, it's a toxic environment, but come on. You're with one of the best defense attorneys ever, and you're just going to turn your back on them? Something else has got to be going on. So Asher's trying to get full immunity, finds out his dad is also trying to get full immunity, so his dad's not even trying to help him. His dad's just helping him in order to help himself. Maybe his dad wants to retire early. I don't know. But it seems kind of shady when your dad doesn't want to help you with things. So Wes kind of sends the other three, Michaela, Laurel, and Connor, on a goose chase to try to find out, to try to investigate what he and Levi are now considering to be the death of Rebecca. And now they're on Frank, but Frank's onto them. And turns out Frank got the upper hand and was now able to discredit Wes with the other three. So now, instead of them not putting their trust in Annalise, they can all turn on Wes, and Wes will have to then rely on Annalise to help him out, and then the rest of them will come back with him. I think that's what they're trying to do. I hope that's what they're trying to do, because I'm trying to be, I'm trying to investigate myself, trying to see what's going on. Now, we found out some very disturbing stuff about Bonnie, because Bonnie was supposed to handle everything with Asher, try to figure out what he's doing, try to figure out why he's doing it, but he's just not budging. He's going to make his decision, and that's it. And it doesn't matter if it hurts Bonnie. It doesn't matter if it hurts Annalise. His decision is his decision. Okay, fine. Your decision's your decision. Annalise then takes things into her own hands. And Annalise shows Asher why Bonnie is the way she is, and why Bonnie would be, I'm trying to think of how to say this. Trying to explain to him why Bonnie did what she did and what her motive was behind that. And I gotta say, it's pretty damning evidence. However, knowing Annalise Keating for only one season and change, I'm not too convinced that what she showed him is fully true. Now, it's pretty damning evidence. However, Annalise Keating is very good at showing you what you want to see and trying to lead you, as a lawyer usually sometimes does, but in an obscure way, so that you don't feel like you're being led. You feel like you're coming to the answers on your own. And that's what she was kind of doing to Asher. Now, in the beginning cutscene, we saw Bonnie running to the car, and you see Asher there, and Asher looks very scared. Like, almost, I don't want to say guilty, but like he looks like something has gone terribly wrong. And he's just completely beside himself. Her body is trying to keep her cool, as she always does. We get through the episode, and then towards the end of the scene, you get to see a little bit more of the interaction. You get to see what happens right after that, a little bit more of the interaction. And Bonnie, they stop off at a gas station, and Bonnie, she's clearing blood off of her. Don't know whose blood it is, but it's something that I noticed afterwards. And I only had to see this once, where I had to watch the Star Wars trailer to notice something even more damning. I had to watch that like multiple times to understand what was going on. But this I caught once. No wounds whatsoever. Just blood of some sort. So does that make her guilty? Whose blood is that? Does that make her guilty of what had happened in the house? For those of you who don't know, or for those of you who do know, these cutscenes are later, or supposed to be happening later in the season. The way this show works is that each episode begins a certain amount of time away from what you're going to find out towards the end of the season. And then they do the episode, and then at the end of the episode, last like 2 minutes or something like that, they cut to back to this forward time continuum type thing, and they show a little bit more. So they try to bring in the audience to try to figure out who did it. It's kind of like a whodunit in 2-minute clips at the beginning of the episode and the end of the episode. So we've been finding out that something happened to Annalise Keating, where she's left lying on the floor, bleeding. We're not sure if she was shot or stabbed. We also see that the prosecutor in this whole series that we've seen so far, and we really don't like, at least I don't like her, she is dead on the pavement in front of the house. We see the Keating 4 trying to help Annalise, but run out, and then Nate is there to help them. But now in this past week's episode, we see where Asher is, because I've been asking this whole season so far for the first 3-4 episodes, where's Asher? Where is Asher? Because again, in the first season, Asher was not around for all the murdering stuff, but they showed where he was. They showed him in his they showed him in his timeline that ran parallel with the timeline that we were supposed to be paying attention to. But this time around, they weren't showing him until now. So we are trying to figure out what is going on with Asher, and what is going on between Asher and Bonnie, because that is a dynamic duo, or a dynamic between the two of them, in which can make or break the story. Now people are left with, well, Bonnie had blood on her. Did she do all of this? Or my speculation, and this is just a speculation, is that Asher went to the house to confront the prosecutor for what we don't know, but Asher went to the house to confront the prosecutor because she's been giving him crap the whole season so far, and he just couldn't take it anymore. And Annalise Keating just gets caught in it. Now, Bonnie's been taking a lot of crap from Annalise Keating, so maybe Bonnie has something to do with it, but I don't think she would ever snap to that level. I think Asher accidentally killed Bonnie. Annalise Keating was there to figure out what had happened, or witness it by accident, completely by accident. And Bonnie, I don't know how Bonnie is a new element that I had not seen. But we're also missing someone else from these cutscenes. We're also missing Frank. And we know Frank has got, quite the job with Annalise Keating. So now we start to question, where's Frank? And maybe this next episode we'll see what's going on with Frank. But I'm more concerned about Asher than I am Frank, because Frank is Frank. Frank, he'll do what he needs to do, but Asher's really taken a beating, so to speak, when it comes to dealing with all these people. And his dad is just not really helping out the situation when it comes to all this with trying to get immunity for himself and for and for the show. I can't wait to see what keeps happening with this show. I keep saying it every week. It's the only Shonda Rhimes show that I do watch. I've heard Scandal's very good. Not really a fan of Grey's Anatomy. And yes, I am basing that off of one episode, but nanny poo poo. But I gotta say this: How to Get Away with Murder. It's just got a great cast. Viola Davis is just doing a great job. I can't wait to see her in Suicide Squad alongside Jared Leto's Joker. This week's episode really did get to open up about, really did get to show where Asher was, because I was concerned about Asher, but now not so much. Now I'm more intrigued rather than concerned about Asher. We also did get to see this week that after his spout last week with Annalise about the case that Annalise lost and the evidence that was damning so much that was the aid to Annalise losing that trial was Connor. Connor just thinks that Annalise does not care about them anymore. All she cares about is the case, and that's all she wants to do. And I mean, Annalise, all she wants to do is just forget about her husband dying and does not want to delve in the past of how bad of a husband he actually was. And she just wants to focus on the case that she's got and the major case that they're undertaking, which is the Halbert trial. Now, the Halbert trial is a bit of a daunting issue, and Annalise has been kind of has been distracted both with Nate's wife and Nate's trying to gain back the trust and forgiveness of Nate. It's keeping her distracted, and she's really not putting her mind at ease with the rest of the show and the rest of the people around her. And Connor, this episode, starts drinking because he knows he's going to go to jail, so why not go out with a bang? So he starts drinking. They keep joking about an orgy and Wes even says, I'm going to go get the orgy drugs because, orgy drugs is what you call it, right? Right? I mean, I'm a new nerd, so I don't know if there are any things called orgy drugs. But Laurel kind of gets a hint of it, and she starts following him. But then when Wes starts to convince them that Frank had a hand in everything, she helps. And I think she figures, well, if they're going to jail, why not get her rocks off too, right? Right. That sounds convincing. So yeah, How to Get Away with Murder. We keep finding out more. Next Thursday, we'll be up to 2 weeks left. And Sunday should be a pretty good show for the new nerd in town. If you know what I mean, the new nerd in town. Again, if anybody out there wants to comment, leave a message, tweet at me, the new nerd in town. We're here to have fun. We're here to listen. Just let me know. Let me know if you have any thoughts about it. Even if you are listening to this weeks on end and the show's already over, we'll talk about it in the past. We'll say, remember that season? Remember that amazing season of How to Get Away with Murder? Because I do.